MJ755 is a Mark IX built at Castle Bromwich. She's due back in Greece, ready to fly in just 10 weeks' time.
We're getting into the last stages of the assembly of the project now. It's a massive Meccano kit from here, and the more people that we can get working on different areas or different ends of the project, the quicker we'll get it finished.
Today, they're preparing the aircraft for the arrival of the engine. The engine bearer is a critical part of the fuselage frame, built by specialist Mark IX.
I'm assembling all the components of the engine bearer on the jig. Just finished drilling all the holes on the horseshoe assembly here, or the U-frame, and now I'm preparing to fit the front set of tubes, or try to. They've got to be cut to length and everything yet, so I'm just seeing how things line up at the moment.
Fortunately for Mark, it's one size fits all. So he's got his own production line running.
Well, this is one I made earlier. So I'm manufacturing another engine bearer on the jig there. So this is the finished item. All the Merlin's engines are all the same dimensions. These are the front mounting feet for the engine, and these are the rear ones, 2 holes either side.
The engine bearer will be subjected to intense forces, so it needs very strong fasteners.
Well, what I've got here is one of the steel ferrules that's been cab plated, and that's the tubular rivet before it's fitted. One end of it is like formed in the lathe, and then they're just cut to various lengths. You can just see the ferrule there, and on this one, and then the rivet goes through, and the other end is turned over with a special tool we've got, so you get that sort of flared head, top, bottom.
As well as the weight, the structure must deal with torque between the engine and propeller.
The tubes will be actually bending and flexing while it's in flight. It's like a shock absorber, really. Some of the fittings and fixtures on one side are thicker and built up more than the other for the torque of the engine. It's very highly unlikely for one of these to fail, but if it does, that's it. The engine will just be off on its own.
During a high-speed dogfight manoeuvre, the forces generated within a Spitfire can be colossal. Those forces all pass through frame 5, where the engine bearer connects to the fuselage. Massive thrust from the propeller pulls the structure forward. Rotating at up to 1500 RPM, it creates immense torque, twisting the frame. And high G manoeuvres can more than triple the weight of the 3/4-ton engine. So, how does it all stay in one piece? Amazingly, the engine is attached to the bearer with just 8 bolts, 4 on each side.
Well, here's the engine mount, actually mounted on the aircraft. Here you've got the actual mounting plates for the feet of the engine. You see the 2 bolts there, going right through. And then the other 2, you can see the nuts on them, the bolts are under here.
And the bearer attaches to frame 5 with just 4.
The tapered bolt here goes in from the top, and then you've got the nut on the bottom to draw it in nice and tight, and then slip in. The bottom one is very similar. It bolts straight onto the fitting. This is where the actual wing attaches. These are 2 of the bolts for the wing, and it's just 4 of those bolts holding it on.
It's an extraordinary bit of engineering from over 80 years ago. In the 1930s, R.J. Mitchell and his team had no computers, no simulators, and no experience of what modern air combat would involve.
Mr. Mitchell's a very clever chap, isn't he? He's designed it like that from the start. I mean, the way the Spitfires all go together, it didn't really change from the first to the last. Very clever man.